Hello and welcome to another episode of Political Agenda brought to you by New Narrative with me, PJ Thum. I am wearing a brown and yellow batik shirt. There are three of us sitting in front of a big map of Southeast Asia and my pronouns are he, him. Today we have with us Nur Friday, who is a student and an active citizen who is going to talk to us about the recent tudong controversy. But before that, if you enjoy this podcast and find it valuable, please do join New Narrative as a member. We rely entirely on membership subscriptions to survive. So do join at newnarrative.com/join or donate at newnarrative.com/donate. And now, Subash.
Stay where you are. We've come way too far. Where you think that you're gonna go? This is utopia. Please stay where you are. We've come way too far. Where you think that you're
Okay, so
gonna
welcome
go?
back to another episode of Political Agenda. And as always, joining me, my friend, Sean Francis Han, Editor-in-Chief of Wake Up Singapore. How are you today, Sean?
I'm doing good. Yeah, really excited about this. I think it's a really relevant intervention. The Tudong saga has been going on for a while now, and we've been seeing opinion pieces and ideas and thoughts just slung around everywhere. But the voice that we haven't really heard is the voice of a Malay Muslim woman who's going to be, the population that is most affected by this. So I'm really excited to get into this. But before all of that, I am wearing a cream t-shirt, green jeans, and my pronouns are he, him. All right. Nur Friday, tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Nur. I am wearing a black and white dress. My pronouns are she, her.
All right.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about what you're working in.
Oh, what I'm working in?
Yeah. So you described yourself as sort of an active citizzen. What does that mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a lot like I'm a learner first because there's a lot of issues that are happening that I'm unaware of, or at least I am aware of, but I don't understand it deeply.
Yeah.
So I feel that my position first when I enter communities that advocate for these issues is that I'm a listener first and I'm a learner first. So I think and I would think that I'm someone who is an active citizen because I worry and I care a lot about social issues, specifically issues like climate change, social inequality, social stratification, and gender inequality as well. Yeah,
Right.
so that's why I'm an active citizen, because I like to participate in conversations, and I like to learn and consider varying perspectives that are something that I've never thought of before. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess just a quick question, jump in here. Like, what do you sort of identify as? I mean, just now I kind of described you as a Malay Muslim woman, right?
Yeah.
But how do you see yourself? How would you identify yourself?
Okay, so I think that I'm Muslim first, then I identify with any race,
Okay.
because of my mixed heritage.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So because of that, I think that as a Muslim, I feel that I'm more spiritual than I am religious. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I find that my affinity towards my religion is more spiritual than it is religious. So yeah.
Okay. So professionally, what do you do?
I work with children and youths.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's fair to say that you are in the education sector.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So, okay, before we even get into the Tudong saga, which is mainly facing healthcare workers,
Yes.
do we have the same problems in the education sector?
No.
This weird banning of the
No.
scarf? No.
Not in the education sector, but I can say that I did apply for a private school before.
All right.
And that was the only occasion where I was told to take off my hijab.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was the first that I've heard of that ever happened. Yeah.
All right.
So was it a religious school?
No, it
No.
wasn't. But the school is an international school, so they deal a lot with expat children. So
Alright.
I don't know why I was told to take off my hijab, and then I told the manager that I'm uncomfortable to do so. He said, if you realize we don't have any tudong-wearing teachers.
It's
Yeah,
not
so
an
that was the
argument.
only reason she gave me. So
I feel like that's a double sin, right? Because if you're, an international school creating children for an international future, people wearing a headscarf is going to be part of that future. They're part of the international community. Like, what are you doing? All right, but
Are the kids never going to meet a
Alright.
Muslim woman in their lives?
that's strange. All right, but anyway, that's kind of piqued my interest here because
Okay.
we have this bizarre problem with the healthcare sector, but not with the education sector. So that kind of provokes me to ask: do we see this sort of in defense, in the military, in the police force?
Okay, so in the police force, or at least any public sector,
Yeah.
where you have to don a uniform,
Yeah.
the hijab is not allowed. So I can say that for my police officer woman who wears the hijab, they are told to take it off.
All right.
Security guards are told to take it off.
Or even like private security guards.
Yes, that's for what I know as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for me, at least the argument that was posed about the healthcare sector, right, the nurses, was more an infection control issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was interested to find out more, and I found, okay, maybe perhaps it would be the washing of hands. Right?
All right.
Yeah. So the washing of hands might be an issue because, you know, if you wear the hijab, you have to cover all the way to your wrist.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I understand is that, okay, so the washing of hand might be part of the infection control thingy. Yeah. So, okay, I buy that argument. But there was a recent study that was conducted by Aware and Daughters of Tomorrow that proved to employers that it does wearing the hijab does not affect infection control at all. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was an interesting study because that kind of refute the narrative.
Yes.
Yeah, so then from when that study was published, and then from then to now, what has happened? Yeah, so that's something I'd like to explore.
I think we should also note that Muslim women in other countries who are in the healthcare sector can wear the hijab. It's, I mean, I don't know about the countries around us. Maybe you can tell us about the Muslim majority countries around us. But definitely in the UK,
Yes.
right, where I've lived most of my adult working life, you know, there's no problem with Muslim women wearing hijab and being a nurse or a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also most recently Australia released a collection of stamps, and then in one of the stamps was to celebrate the healthcare workers, and they drew a hijab wearing doctor as their frontliner.
All right.
Yeah, so I guess it speaks a lot about the diversity that they celebrate in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, so even in Scotland, there was a student researcher that came out with a disposable hijab in the hospitals. So there's a lot of leniency, a lot of things, creative solutions that were already enforced. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, I guess before we go any further, before we get into the real issue, the crux of the issue at hand, I wanna figure out what's the cultural and religious significance of the tudong.
Okay.
Yeah, why does the hijab matter for our audience? You know, so explain, assuming someone who's listening has no idea what a hijab is, maybe you can start totally from first principles.
Okay.
Yeah. Or even, I noticed that we've just been using the term hijab and tudong interchangeably.
Yeah.
Is there a meaningful distinction between the two?
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I was gonna answer that as well.
Nice.
So the
All right.
tudong, right, is the Malay word for hijab.
Okay.
Yeah. So hijab is the Arabic word, and hijab actually just means covering.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the headscarf is what you called it in English. So I will use these three interchangeably because they mean the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So religiously, what the textbook answer for why women don the hijab or the tudong is because it is a religious obligation. Yeah. So it is asked of us in the Quran to watch our modesty
Yes.
by covering ourselves with the hijab. But I also need to emphasize that while that code was being brought down, and the first group of people that God has addressed is not women, is men first.
Okay.
So that speaks a lot about what men is to do first before what woman is supposed to do. So
Okay.
the idea about women wearing the hijab is oppressive and things like that, right? I think that is not the discussion here.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the first we have to
So
understand.
in context, you're saying that the verse begins with the obligations towards men
Yes.
before it gets to the obligations towards women.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
right.
got it.
Yeah.
All right.
So it says to the men that you have to lower your gaze. Yeah. So but I don't know why the conversation is always about what the woman should do. Yeah. So that was something I found particularly interesting. Yeah. So that's the religious aspect, and then for the cultural aspect,
Sorry, I'm gonna jump in here again. I just have so many questions.
Sure, sure.
Because I'm really coming in as an outsider here, but what is the necessity of wearing hijab? Is it like a must? Is it a choice? Is it like frowned upon? Like, to what extent must you do it?
Okay, I will answer this from the textbook answer.
All right.
Okay, because I have my own points about it. But from the Quran, it just says that you have to wear it. It's an obligation.
Okay.
Okay, but there are a lot of debates going around about 21st century issues that talks about women empowerment as well. Yeah, so that debate is going around in the religious sphere.
All right.
So because I'm not someone who is knowledgeable in the aspect, I feel like I should not comment on it. But I do know that there are some debates going around, like if they choose to wear it, when do they have to wear it?
Yeah.
How do they wear it? Does it matter? And things like that. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So what about the cultural significance then?
Okay, so the Muslim majority in Singapore are Malay Muslims, right? So for the Malay Muslims, from what I understand, is that we let our children use it after they baligh, what they call they reach their puberty.
Yep.
Yeah. So then the children are the female children the girls are expected to wear the hijab.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's from what I understand. Some of them train their children to use it since young.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is a parenting choice for me. It's not reflective of what Islam says, but it's a parenting choice.
Yes.
Yeah, of the cultural aspect of things. Yeah, but personally, for me, what the way that I wear the hijab, what it means to me is that it is my commitment to my faith.
Yes.
So I was going through a soul searching journey, and I mean soul searching not because I lost something and I went for a soul searching. Okay, that was a cheap shot, but yeah, I was going on a soul searching journey, and I decided that I would like to be more committed to my faith.
All right.
Yeah, because like I mentioned, I'm a more spiritual person. So that connection I have with God is something that it's just between me and Him.
Yeah.
So when I put it on, it's a reminder for me that is my commitment. That on earth, my journey is only on earth, but it's not my final destination.
All
That
right.
I have to do as much good and learn as much as possible and provide service to others before I go on to what's permanent for me in the afterlife.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a commitment for me. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, when I started asking the question about the cultural significance, I was kind of looking along the lines of like, what does it mean? Does it index like your membership to a community, or are there like general practices? But I'm sort of realizing now from the way that you put it that it's a very personal thing.
It is.
That you can't really generalize and say, this is what it means for Singapore, this is what it means for
Yes.
other countries. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really much more personal.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So I think we got the basics
Okay.
done. I think we've got the basics down. Give us a brief run through what's been going on.
I drew a timeline. So.
Nice. All right. Let's do that.
Okay, because I've done my research. Okay, I've done a timeline. So in 2002, what happened
Wow.
was...
Okay. I did not expect 2002.
We're going to go all the way back to
But
2002.
after all these podcasts with me and you're intimidated by 2002, a lot of my responses have started with, well, in 1945.
Yeah, but for this case, at least it's 2002.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so in 2002, there were a case of 4 Muslim children below the age of... in primary school, who wore modified versions of their uniforms and a hijab to a primary school. And then the primary school, the government said, hey, you're not supposed to do that. And then they were sent home, of course, right? Yeah, so
Okay.
that happened. And then that was the first incident of that. But for me personally, I feel that was a political move on the parents' part. Yeah, because nobody asked the child if they wanted to use it or not.
Okay.
Right.
So so political move, and then the parents were trying to demonstrate
Yeah.
that there was something wrong
Yeah.
with the system. All right.
Correct, yeah. So
Got it.
I felt that was the starting point of this whole conversation, and that's why I moved towards that direction, because that kind of set the tone.
That's very creative. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that 2002 issue came up, and then so then that happened, and then after that was a bit like silence for a bit, and then in 2013 there was an online petition for Singaporean hijab wearing women to use their tudong in the workforce, and then there were like 12,405 signatures after 2 weeks,
All right.
but it was taken down.
Oh.
So it was there were some comments about it in Parliament. So a few ministers said that because it was done on a public platform, you don't know whether they are verified people. People can make out email addresses, you know. Yeah. So there was a lot of denying that this is what it feels on the ground. Yeah. So then that happened, and in 2014 there was a first closed door dialogue.
Okay.
Between the Prime Minister, Malay Muslim MPs, community leaders in the Muslim community. Yeah, so that was the first.
Just have to ask here, any of them women?
I have no idea because they don't release.
Oh
who
yes,
is
it's
that.
closed door, silly me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know who's involved. Yeah, so that's all we know.
Okay.
Yeah, that there was a dialogue. Yeah, and then in 2017, the first exchange happened in Parliament between Workers' Party Faizal Manap and the PAP. So then they were talking about whether we could get the... Basically, he was championing the issue of Muslim women to wear the tudong in the workforce.
Yeah.
And then that's when the Minister of Muslim Affairs, Yaakob Ibrahim, said that wearing the tudong in the workforce can be problematic for some places that ask you to wear uniforms.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was his comment on that. And then after that, in 2020, there was this banner that was set up at a particular GRC,
Okay.
where a non-Muslim woman was wearing a headscarf.
All right.
A non-Muslim MP was wearing a headscarf, wishing everybody happy Hari Raya.
All right.
Yeah, so I was quite peeved by that though, because I felt that it's quite like, I don't know if I can say this, but it's quite like a masturbatory
Okay.
for you to do that. Because it's like, oh,
I think that's
yes,
a perfect word, yeah.
let's celebrate. Oh, I like to celebrate your culture, and your religion. But at the same time, I will still enforce the discrimination that you feel.
What was the point of that? Did they not have, somebody from the community?
It was just to show that when she cleared it up, she said that before she actually wore the hijab, she had some clearance from the mosque members and things like that. So those people who were like, basically she made us feel like those of you who are butthurt is your problem, lor. Your religious leader said it's okay. Yeah, that's what it made me feel. Yeah. So that was the 2020 incident. It was quite interesting because that happened during COVID circuit breaker, right? So everybody was all online, so you can hear like tons of people's voices then. So I thought that was the start of the online engagement of the tudong issue.
Okay.
Yeah. That one was something I particularly noticed as well. Yeah. And then in the 2020, there was an online petition also in June to get us to be able to wear our tudong in the workforce as well. Yeah. And then in 2021, on the 8th of March, on International Women's Day, the whole Masagos and Faizal Manab issue came up. So that was during the Committee of Supply debate. Yeah, so then he said comments about how wearing this is a very divisive issue and things like that, and then we should always use a closed door approach and things like that. Yeah, I have my own thoughts as well. And then Maliki Osman came in to support that, saying and cited what one of the Grand Sheikhs said, which I wanted to correct because I'm not sure if we should go into that now. But I think I would.
Yeah, let's jump into it. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Faizal Mainab asked in Malay if we can allow this to happen. So I guess we can see that Masagos was quite annoyed that he keeps pushing on this again and again. When Masagos has a way to deal with this, and that's with his closed door dialogues. Yeah. So he was very annoyed. It was very obvious that he was very annoyed. And then Maliki Osman came into the picture, and then he said that he was reading a speech which made me feel like, okay, this should not have happened. So while he was reading the speech, he cited Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. So he's somebody of a very notable figure.
All right.
Okay, in the Islamic world. So he said that this Imam said that if a woman wants to get a job and she has to get the job, she can take out the hijab if the job says no. Yeah, so I was like, wait a second, did this Imam actually say that? Because I know for sure that's not how it is. So I did my research and I was trying to pull up the transcript of this particular issue, this particular event where Maliki Osman said that he was moderating it. So I was like, okay, it's not very hard to find it, right? So I found it. I found the transcript. And that's not what he said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what the Imam said was that if I have this. Okay, I'm gonna read it here, okay? In case somebody say that I'm not saying the right things. Okay, let me just pull it out.
It's exciting, ladies and gentlemen. The government has been putting out fake news, and we're going to prove it right now.
Okay, so basically, what happened was he said that the hijab can be temporarily removed due to work requirements. He qualified that this is only permissible if it's in an extreme situation. So in Islamic terms, it's called darurah. So that means that if she is the only sole breadwinner and she only has this job, then she can take it out.
Yeah.
So the extremities it's emphasized, but it was not in Maliki's speech. It was conveniently plonked there.
Yeah, I'm even thinking like without that context, why would you want to create an environment where a Muslim woman would have to make like that tough call, or would be pushed into that situation where they would have to, say, okay, I'm going to draw on this exception, or I'm going to have to navigate in this tight legal crevice and then take it. Why would you do that, right? It's so, it is important to people. Why do this? Like, even if you're citing it, it's such a poor citation.
Yeah.
It's not what it means.
And then the best part was, the Imam actually said something else about standing up against discrimination, which Mr. Maliki did not add into his speech. So the Imam said this. Let me just pull it out, okay? He asserted that we must confront the intolerant model of secularism, which oppresses religion and its believers at the intellectual level. This confrontational should be on the basis of personal liberty, because the secularism that accords women to personal liberty in appearing without the hijab in public should also accord the same right to women who wants to wear the hijab. So you can clearly see what the Imam states on this issue, right?
Yes.
I mean, and then this minister was just like, oh, but this thing happened once. I was the moderator. Yeah, so I was thinking to myself, why didn't anyone bring it up? Yeah, so we take what is being said as face value without researching it. But I was quite I was scrutinizing on what he said, because I'm pretty sure that's not what he said. Yeah. And then it was like and then after that then we move on to what Shanmugam said recently, right?
Yes.
So he said that there has been talks for women to be able to wear the headscarf in the workforce in the healthcare sector, right? So nurses are able to do it. He said that, and he said this talk has been going around for months. Then how come Masagos didn't get the message? That was my question. And then I don't know whether it was more like maybe it was like damage control, because maybe somebody alerted them that Maliki quoted this guy. He did not say that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether that's what happened. But when Shanmugam stepped in, what it kind of signals to me that it's a national issue now. It's not a Malay Muslim issue the way that the government has been portraying it or framing it. Because the moment a non-Malay Muslim speaker or minister comes in and say, hey, this is what's going to happen, it kind of signals you that it's a national issue. Yeah, so I thought that, okay, so we can have that conversation now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's more nonsense than I expected, and thank you for pointing it out. Thank you for calling it out, right? But I mean, one big piece of nonsense as well that pervades this entire case here is that the voices of Malay Muslim women, people who are affected by this, has not been front and center in this issue. Right?
Yeah.
And I just want to know, why is that the case, right? We have Manap, we have Maliki, we have the
Masagos.
Imam, we have Masagos, and then now Shanmugam.
Yeah.
Why are they leaving Muslim women out of this?
I don't know.
Can they not find somebody? What's going on?
I think it is very it tells you a lot about who has the most say in issues concerning women. And I don't mean it like there is a patriarchy involved and things like that, because it's a very quick and easy way for me to put it, right? But it kind of describes a certain outlook of how women issues are being tackled, especially in minority communities. Yeah, so then I feel that people are pressing on to the hijab wearing Muslim women in parliament to say something, but they are not allowed to say these things, right? If she has a personal stance and she has to go against what the institution believes in, then that's contradictory, right? That's what happened to Shanmugam and Masagos, right? So it kind of puts them in a spot. So I feel that this is where civil service comes in, where people on the grounds, Muslim women, brown Muslim women, or even Chinese Muslim women who wears a hijab, like this is where you can start sharing and you can start talking. So my question is, why are they so quiet? Okay. It happened since 2000, right? So I'm pretty sure we're tired already. I mean, I can say I'm quite tired, because every time when I talk about it, my friends will say that, why are you making it such an issue? Because they don't understand it. And I feel like, because I am the affected community, I'm the victim of this, it's very tiring for me to explain to you why I'm oppressed. You know? So like you have the internet, right? You have great platforms like Beyond the Hijab or Lepak Conversations. They are sharing all these things. Educate yourself and be an ally. Understand that. Learn. Like, you need to understand, just because it doesn't happen to this friend, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen to me. So I guess Muslim women are kind of tired of this conversation already, because it's like when we say and then we don't have that real platform like like in parliament. We are not encouraged or invited onto the policy making table. So why do we want to make the noise? Yeah, so the what we can do is do petitions, share about our lived experiences. That's what we do, but that's just about it.
Yeah, people don't realize, right? No one actually gets up in the morning wanting to cause trouble or make a fuss. You know, like I mean, 99.9% of people don't, right? What you want to do is simply live your life and be treated fairly and equally to everyone else.
Yeah.
But it is elite privilege to be able to know that you don't have to justify who you are or what you do, because that is accepted as normal. And it is elite privilege to know that your perspective will be taken into account in the decision-making process at the policy-making table, because you're going to be represented there through sheer weight of numbers and the idea that you are the default, right? You're the big bell curve.
Yeah.
You know, and those of us who aren't represented in that, when the process through which our views are represented is inadequate, how else are we supposed to then ensure that our views are heard, if not through protest, through making a fuss, through petitions, through voicing out, right? If not through making other people's let's say ignorant normal. Ignorant in the sense that you don't know, not ignorant in the sense that you're deliberately, blindly or stupid or everything, but just the people who don't know, you have to pull them out of their comfort zone, and the only way to do that is to make them uncomfortable. You know, so it is fundamentally a failure of representation if the voices of such an important minority, you know, we're not even talking about a tiny minority. You're not like, I don't know, the Jewish community or something, right? Who are maybe 1,000 people in Singapore historically. I mean, right now, the numbers might be a bit more, but it's a very small number. But you know, you're a very major part of our culture, our history, our country, and your voices can't get heard. And it's such elite privilege to not even be able to realize that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking about elite privilege, right? There's a sort of nagging question in my head. Where is Halimah Yacob in all of this? I mean, she's the president, right? Right. I was just sort of thinking, we, you know, who could they call? Maybe, you know, there was an issue, they couldn't find somebody. No, wait, the president is a hijab wearing Muslim woman.
Funny how she's so quiet.
Has she ever said anything?
No.
Oh, like nothing.
Nothing that. I think she said something about. She said about something like that once. I think that was during the Okay, Let's Go saga.
Okay. All right.
That's the only time I ever remember her speaking up, like seriously, about some, you know, racial issue.
But I think maybe she did have. I'm not too sure about that, but I think maybe she did once or twice.
Okay. Yeah. But right now it's radio silence.
But off the bat, I can't. I don't. When this happened, she didn't say anything.
Okay.
It's very easy, you know. If you assume she's part of the elite, she can criticize. Okay, Let's Go. That it's a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not part of the elite, but then she can't criticize the ministers. Because, well, you know, we all know why she was the selected president, placed there as a token figurehead. And as a result, she can't actually criticize any of the systems of power which put her in that place, no matter how much she personally may want to.
Yeah, which is quite sad, because I know her personally during my volunteer efforts, and I do have interactions with her, and she's an amazing woman. Yeah, and I don't know, to see somebody I respect being silenced, or at least I assume being silenced, it really speaks a lot about where my voice is as a Muslim woman, how much it matters, the value that I put into society and nation building. Yeah, so it got me questioning a lot.
That is a profound thought.
Yeah, when you think about it, right, if even the president cannot speak up on this issue, what does that say about the place of Muslim women in our country?
Yeah, so interestingly, there's a lot of research. So let's talk about Masago's issue, like when he said that it's going to be divisive, right? So he said that he doesn't want patients to, like, you know, choose one over the other. Yeah. So, but if your name tag says Sabar, it does not mean that you're Muslim. Yeah, you don't need a hijab. Yeah, your name tag shows your race, your religion. So my question is, if he's listening, why are you protecting people who have this anti like Islamophobic sentiments?
Yeah.
Why are you protecting them instead of us who contribute to nation building?
Yeah.
Instead of us who is marginalized, instead of us whose Article 15 of the Constitution is not being extended to. Yeah, so that's my question to him.
Yeah, I thought our healthcare workers were like essential, heroes, people to be praised, protected. But then suddenly, some people might be racist, so no, they no longer we can't protect them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the bit that has, at least on my end, we Wake Up Singapore, that has garnered the most, reaction, right, is Masago's argument, because it's broken on so many levels, right? I mean, one of them is this really like, let's protect the Islamophobes' logic, right? Let's not have women in hijabs because that's going to make Islamophobes freak out, right? And I mean, that's some real galaxy brain logic right there. But I mean, another thing that I want to focus in here is him sort of decrying this issue, or people who raise the issue, as divisive, right? What do you make of that? How do you feel about that when people say the issues that you are concerned about and that affect your everyday life are divisive?
I guess it's a way to silence me. Okay, so I feel that why is it divisive? What kind of empirical evidence do you have to support that this is divisive? Like, you can't just say, oh, we have a closed door discussion and we agree that it's divisive, right? So the thing is, there's a lot of non-transparency. There's a lot of, I cannot hold him accountable because he will say things like, oh, this is what was discussed, but who was there?
Yeah, and how was it discussed?
Yeah,
who were the participants?
Exactly.
Right?
What is your sample size? Who are these people from? Are they just echoing what you're believing in? Then that's not a closed door discussion, right?
That's not a discussion.
That's the PAP argument about democracy, right? This is something I've brought up several times in different venues, that how the PAP define democracy is not representation by people. It's saying that all the views are represented in the policy making process, right? So they don't actually need, by this argument, a Muslim woman, or indeed any Muslim, or indeed any one who is a minority in the policy making process, as long as they can say, oh, those views were submitted through the proper channels and taken into consideration during the process. And that is how the PAP defines democracy. So this is part of this whole general belief that you don't actually need representation. You don't need a Muslim woman in the room. You don't need a minority in the room, as long as their views are submitted to the people in the room. And that is democracy. That is a smooth, good, efficient policy-making process.
So then my question is, how do these women have access to those people in the room if we don't know who these people are in the room?
Well, Meet the People sessions. That's why they have Meet the People sessions. They have the People Association. They have CCC. They have RC. They have, Mendaki. They have all these different stat boards, right? You have Reach, right? You're supposed to submit through all these formal channels, and then they'll say, don't worry, in our private closed-door discussion where there's no public minutes or recording or everything, we took into account your views and we made a decision for the good of society as a whole, the country as a whole. See, that's democracy. There's a fundamental belief in the PAP decision-making process that democracy works best that way.
So I want to kind of sort of maybe take a step back here and ask you, why are they so adamant on having a closed-door discussion, right? I mean, it seems like a weird thing to slam the hammer down on, but why do you think they want this closed-door discussion so badly?
Okay, I have some notes here.
You really came prepared? All right.
Yes. I guess it's a very safe and ideal environment to have difficult discussions like this, sensitive discussions like this. And I would not deny that it's a very multifaceted issue.
Yes.
Okay. It talks a lot about social class. It has essence of all this in there. Gender inequality as well. So I guess because of how delicate this issue is, closed door discussion might be the safest option, because you get to moderate what is said. You get to moderate who has to say what. You get to decide what is being discussed.
Yeah.
But I feel that if the issue affects people like me, shouldn't I be given the agency to moderate those discussions with you guys as stakeholders instead? You know, Yeah, so that was my question about the whole closed door discussion. Then the next question is like, what is the sample size of that discussion?
Yeah.
Because the way that is being framed, this whole tudong issue, right, is that it's a Malay Muslim issue. But there are lots of non-Malay Muslim women as well who are also affected, which their own experiences are different.
Okay.
Yeah, so why don't you account for that diversity in your discussion?
How would non-Malay Muslim women be affected by this?
Okay, so you have to understand that like the Malay culture itself has some beliefs,
Yes.
right? So even if you're Indian Muslim, there are also different beliefs.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're Chinese Muslim, you have different beliefs. Yeah, so all these do play a part in the
Okay.
way that you like. For example, if let's just say if I'm a convert, right, and then the job is I just started wearing the hijab, and then the job say if all my life I have grown up to understand that social economical progress is important for me,
Yes.
right? And then the job say you can have this, you can have that, you will get this promotion, but you have to take off your hijab. So my belief system is social economical progress is important for me, so I can take out the hijab. So then the HR will be like, oh, but this person can take out, why you cannot take out? Yeah. So you know how it's a personal choice, and it's a diversity of opinions and the way people want to do things. Yeah, you should account for that. It's not like this is the policy. It's not a blanket way of like your solution should not be a one-time solution. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I guess like when you have these lived experiences, this sample size of diverse people who go through the same issue but in different aspects,
Yeah.
then you have a robust discussion, right? Why did you not want that?
Yeah. You know, I'm also kind of thinking about what you said earlier, right? Which is that it's a safe option and you can kind of understand where they're coming from. And I sort of thought, okay, is that being a bit too charitable? Because what's the alternative of that? Like, we have an open discussion and then what? What's the worst that can happen? I can't see Singaporeans like rioting on the streets or like burning buildings. Like, you know, people are just going to be more engaged. The sphere of discussion is going to be open up. But I can't imagine human beings like taking to the streets and burning stuff. So, I mean, is it really necessary for us to have like a safe, closed-door discussion?
Okay, so with that into consideration, right, I do feel that there needs to be a balance of both. Okay, so I feel that yes, you can have a closed-door discussion, but when I mean closed-door, I mean like you have it in an environment where it's closed, so like it's not like live view, whoever who comes,
so not like live stream.
So you take into, so that these people will take into account what they say. So all the trolls are online, right? Their profiles are all fake profiles. That's why they can say whatever they want to say. But if you tag their opinion to them, their individual, then they're more responsible about what they say. So you can have this like closed door session, but you can invite members from the outside community in. That's one. On top of that, can you keep transcripts of what's happening? Yeah, I mean, you can still moderate. There's still some control that you have, like moderating the situation, right? But I feel, definitely at the bottom of my heart, I feel like it's because our ministers are not equipped with the skills to deal with differing opinions. That's it. That's just it.
I mean, it sounds like what you're proposing is something akin to like a town hall. Rather than like a closed... Okay, yeah. I also have this weird suspicion that they just don't want the decision-making power to seep anywhere outside of a select group of elites. I don't know what you sort of think about that. Maybe I've become very cynical after looking at local politics.
That makes sense. Having open meetings means that you are ceding some initiative to the broader public to bring up different views, and then you have to deal with those views on the spot, as you said. And then you have to be accountable for the things you say on the spot. That is very scary. I think, especially if you're not someone who is actually a politician who worked their way up from the ground and is experienced with dealing with issues and representing people, but rather you're parachuted in like many of our political leaders are. So it's a combination, I think, of not wanting to give away that power, but also being deeply terrified of being put in a situation where you actually have to give an opinion. Right? Because with a closed door thing, you can say whatever you want. Oh yes, I fought so hard for Muslim women, for the right for every Muslim to decide for themselves. Then you can say that, but actually in the room, no one knows what's happened because it's closed door. No transcript, no minutes. There's no transparency, no accountability.
I'm sort of thinking in my head as well, like if we had you in a room with Masagos or Shamugam, right? you'd be able to point out the things that you're pointing out here.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, you guys, you don't know what you're talking about, right? Like, I live this, I'm affected by this. And point out like the different intersections of how this affects you.
Yeah.
Call them out on like the weird interpretations that they have.
Yeah.
Right. Clarify the bizarre arguments, right? And really come from your own perspective. They wouldn't stand a chance. There's no way they live that down.
I mean, but at the same time, I'll be respectful about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean, like if you're watching this, I am more than willing to have the conversation with you, because I feel that it's not an us versus them thing, you know. And I want us to see that the beauty of diversity is that the more we are together, we can agree to disagree, but you have to also respect that people come with their own experiences, you know. So I will be able to do it tactfully. Like, of course, it's something that matters a lot to me. And then, but I do. So recently there was a case where a religious person, a religious figure, was invited to this closed door section, and then he's one of a very notable religious leader, and then somebody actually left a note on the religious leader's car calling him a name, as the name.
All right.
So it's like a slur word.
All right.
Yeah, so then he posted it online, and he said that this is the reason why we need to do things closed door. Because we don't have the maturity to engage in discussions like that. But then I come to think that's a very oversimplified view of what the Muslim community is capable of, right? Because there are lots of Muslim scholars who are more than willing to engage with you, but this one guy who does that, it kind of like then you send this narrative around. That's not it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very common argument by the government, right? There are literally hundreds of thousands of people trying to engage civilly online, but then one person abuses a minister, and they're like, oh, this is what the opposition are like, they're trolls or whatever, and they just ignore the rest of us who are trying to make very reasoned, very respectful arguments, which are trying to take into account all these different views. And ultimately, the other point I think I want to make is, Singapore has had the same government since 1959, and they take credit for all our economic progress, but they never take any of the responsibility for a lack of political maturity. They claim that there's a lack of political maturity, but who's been in power and shaped our society for almost how many years has it been? 60 years, right? 60 years the government's in power. They've actually fundamentally altered our society in so many different ways because of the education system, because of cultural policy, housing policy, race policy, education policy. They've changed how Singaporeans live and think and see the world. And yet somehow it's our fault that we have a lack of political maturity, and that's why, and then that is used as a reason why we should continue to have a lack of political maturity by having all this, opportunity to have reasoned, mature debate denied to us.
So I want to kind of ask you here, like, what do you make of Shanmugam contradicting Masagos, right? Where do you think that signals we're headed in?
Okay, the first time when I heard it, right, I was like, huh? Oh, wait, what? This happened? Okay.
I had to reread the headline. I thought, what was going on? Yeah.
I thought it was like a misprint or something, Then I'm like, oh, so there's been the talks over the months. Then how come Masagos didn't get the message?
Right, yeah.
That's one. And then secondly, I feel like, okay, so he's stepping up means that it's a national issue, right? Because he's a law minister. Yeah, so I think that given his track record and given his experiences, so it means that the fact that he said it instead of the Minister for Muslim Affairs said it kind of changes who has the microphone now. Yeah, so then I feel like, okay, so now it's a national issue because he said it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it strike you as like a bit problematic that the Minister for Muslim Affairs is being kind of superseded by...
I feel like he was thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
Like, oops,
totally.
you didn't do it. Yeah. So maybe his performance was unsatisfactory to the people on top. Yeah. So they decided, you know what, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Yeah. So then when that happened, it was quite shocking for me when he said it.
Yeah.
Because all this while the framing is, it's a Muslim issue, it's a Malay Muslim issue, and then even the debates are in Malay, right? So because of that, we don't have the allyship of like our non-Muslim friends. Yeah. So then suddenly when he comes up and he says this, then I'm like, oh. And then I see some comments online, right? Like be like, oh no, this is gonna be an Islamic state. Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, so you think putting on the hijab will make it an Islamic State? And why do all these Islamic State go through the efforts to do whatever they have to do to make an Islamic State? You know, so like those kind of arguments, right, are harbored by Islamophobes, right?
Yeah.
So why do you pay attention to those when they are really trolls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, I suppose at the very least, right, we can be a little bit hopeful that things are about to change, right, given Shamugam's messaging. But what do you think are some things that we should take note of or be careful about as we implement this new policy that would open it up for Muslim women to don the headscarf?
I think because the conversation has taken center stage with the Muslim men, right? I think we can all agree on that. So I guess now that when this, let's just say in the near future, Muslim women are allowed to wear the tudong, right? And then the nurse who decides not to wear it, I guess the Muslim men have to respect that that's the decision, and not be like, oh, last time you said this is the issue, then now we already do this for you, then you still don't want to wear the tudong. Yeah. So I feel that you have to respect that wearing the hijab, the tudong, it's a personal choice.
Yes.
And if I'm given, and I would like to practice my rights on Article 15 of the Constitution to choose whether I want to wear it or not. Yeah, that's the first one. But secondly, right, we shouldn't celebrate too much.
Okay.
Because it's just the nurses. Yeah. What about the other sectors?
Yes.
Because from what I understand, in the private sector, right, the dress code is given exclusively to the employers.
Yes.
Yeah, but there are people who I know of who get this blanket statement, oh, you have to wear uniform, so you cannot wear the hijab. So, of course, nurses is the first step, right?
Yes.
And then maybe a legislation where you just have to just put it out there that people are allowed to wear the hijab. Yeah. So when we talk about the whole like uniform issue, you can make arrangements to uniform, right? Why do we have this impression that in order for us to be united, we have to be the same? Yeah. What is up with that? Where we know that diversity exists, and we shouldn't shy away from it.
And it's baked into the very essence of what it means to be Singaporean, right? We are a country of migrants. We celebrate ourselves on our multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. So this is bullshit, right? I mean, you can't celebrate diversity on the other hand and then actively stifle it in the same breath.
Yeah.
And I guess it really needs to be said again, right? This has been brought up, but the Sikh exemption is it means that there is one rule for one group of people and another rule for another group of people. There's no consistency across there's no principle here that is being adhered to, and it's not that we want Sikhs to not wear their turbans, but why give an exception to one group and not to another? And of course, Masagos then, to justify that, said something incredibly, incredibly stupid, which, as a colonial historian, I literally fell off my chair. He said, save for the practices that we inherited as a legacy from the British government, our uniform policy in the public service cannot be tilted towards any particular religious belief. Save for the practices that we inherited as a legacy from the British government. So it's like,
legacy is such a disgusting word.
Colonialism is good. It's some of the things that the colonial government did is okay, and that is a reason why we should keep doing them. I mean, that it beggars belief that in 2021 a politician can stand up and defend the practices of a colonial government and defend continuing those practices as a reason why you continue to do them.
Yeah.
And it's I mean,
and as a Malay man, right, go read Myth of the Lazy Native, like go and see the things that
there's
the
even
colonists
a shorter
have
version
said.
of it, right? Schemer or reformer. There's an easier to read version.
Oh yeah, just go and look at the things that they did. Look at the things that they said, the depictions of them, the crude jokes. Like, these are not your friends, Mr. Masagos. So I don't know what kind of history books you're reading, but that's a weird thing to do. But I mean, anyway, let's come back to the discussion here.
Okay,
and
so can I just mention something?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned about the Sikh men, right? They are able to wear the turban. So I speak to some of my Sikh friends who are women, and they tell me that they are not allowed to wear their turban in their workforce. Yeah. So I didn't know this as well.
Sikh friends who are women.
Yeah, so some of my Sikh friends who are women, they wear the turban as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and then they say they're not allowed to wear it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
But for Sikh men, it's okay.
yeah. So then I was like, oh, I didn't know this is happening, or to you as well. I said, yeah, but because you are very, very small, because the fact that Sikh women, not all Sikh women wear the turban, right? So like only a select few wear them. So those select few are not able to wear them.
Yeah, see, this is why we need more discussions from the actually affected groups, where we need the actual minorities, the actual individuals to come out and speak, and not just, these token representatives who speak on the behalf of the affected community, which they themselves are not a part of.
But then don't you wonder, whoa, is that like an indication of some kind of patriarchy?
Yeah, right. That's kind of my suspicion here.
Wait, what? You too? Oh my god, sis, we are the same. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Oh, okay, so I guess in that way, that's what I mean, it's multifaceted, right?
Yeah.
A lot of issues that's happening, and at the same time, I feel that, I think the government is very proud of their multiracial, multi-religious peace and harmony song that they sing all the time, right?
Yes.
So when this happens and then the Islamophobes come out, right, it kind of gives them a cognitive dissonance that, oh, we didn't really do a good job. Yeah, so that's why they try to don't let this closet racist come out, because it will be a testament to our failures.
It's easier to say, the issue is just inherently, naturally, metaphysically divisive, rather than the things that we have done have not engendered a multiracial and a truly tolerant society.
Yeah.
It's easier to put the blame on the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I want to sort of get your thoughts here on what are your observations, I guess, in general about this whole saga that has played out, maybe from 2002 up to right now, Shamukam's weirdly contradictory remarks. What are your observations on this whole issue?
Okay, so when it happened in 2002, I wasn't wearing the hijab then. So I only wore it in 2011. Yeah, so that's when it really affects me, because that's when the whole thing started coming on, right? And then I started wearing this new identity, and then I was part of the whole switch. Because before I wear the hijab, I would say I enjoy some privileges, I don't get scouted as a certain race, and then I do enjoy privileges. But the moment I wear the hijab, right, boom, all this comes on me. Then I realize, oh my goodness, if this is what I feel now, imagine what happens to my other counterparts who has to grow up with it. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, which is why I talk about it within my circle of friends, but not online anymore, because I got quite exhausted already. So from this observation, right, the whole saga, it is quite interesting to know that it took so long for us to get here. Okay, so this was in
pretty much 20 years, right? Almost there.
Yeah, so it took so long. And I think the rise of the internet, the rise of information at your fingertips, the rise of civil discourses online is the reason why we're moving forward. So I feel that our ministers should just get on board the program. Look, we are all this is happening already. Instead of resisting it, why not just humble yourself to understand or listen? Is it so hard? Is it such a bruise to your ego? Look, with all due respect, we are learning. Even I am learning a lot of new things. All of us are learning new things every day, right? So why do you think that you are an exception to that? Yeah. So this whole thing about civil discourses, people getting much more interested in issues surrounding discrimination, and then people speaking up over the whole brown face saga, people talking about racial inequality. Then just get on board the program. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's. I come back to what you were saying just now, right? It's not necessarily an us versus them situation.
Yeah.
We just want to say it, there are issues affecting us. Just listen. It's when you don't listen, then people get upset. People get hostile.
Yeah.
People start to speak out louder and louder, right? And why? Why is it so hard? It's not like anybody's out to get you, out for blood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Especially, on such a minor issue, it's one piece of fabric worn by one subgroup of the country. If you can't even deal with this, how are you actually going to deal with the huge major issues that really affect the country very deeply? For example, of course, climate change and the depredations of neoliberal capitalism, right? You can't deal with a piece of fabric. How are you going to fundamentally reform society and our economy and our country at a time where it's clear all those things need reform? And this is a broader theme, I think, that we've observed through the podcast and through recent history, and I know I've observed in my writing that where we once used to have a government which was very radical in many ways in trying to keep Singapore ahead of the curve, right? And even embrace some things which today we look back very reprehensible, but at least they were trying to keep Singapore progressing forward into a new era and change the country to anticipate the future, right? Go where the ball is being played, as to use a football analogy. Today, we have a government which is terrified of any change and justifies everything in the context of the past and maintaining the practices of the past because that's their only claim to legitimacy, and any deviation from the past cuts themselves off from their own legitimacy as a government. You know, they have nothing, they have nothing that they can no track record of their own. They only have Lee Kuan Yew's track record, the old guard's track record, and so they have to preserve whatever remains of that. And that means even on a tiny little issue like this, they're not willing to create any sort of fundamental change, you know, and the only concession is, okay, one subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup can now wear the headscarf. Possibly, maybe, hasn't been fully confirmed yet, but maybe, you know, a tiny little concession. Yeah.
And then, like, okay, you can use already, right? Okay, you wait 10 years, then the others can use. Yeah.
And then they'll say something like, oh, you know, if we change too fast, then society's going to go upside down or some crap like that.
But society is always changing. Social norms are always changing. Yeah. So you can't resist it. You have to embrace it. If you're going to be relevant as a government, if you're going to be relevant as a political party, as a leadership, you have to embrace these voices. Because somewhat or other, because of our access to platforms like the internet, for example, right? How are you going to control that?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to get us on your team. It's not an us versus them thing. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well,
if anybody in power is listening, yes, please. This is an important message.
Yes, we want to help you, you know, those of you who are out there, anyone in the PAP listening, we want to help you. You know, it's not that we want to make your life difficult. Yeah.
So I guess I wanna kind of wrap up here on a very broad meta question, which comes back to something that you were mentioning just now, which is that you have friends or you have people or you know people who say things like, oh, you know, it's just a piece of cloth, it's not that important, right? And that kind of got me thinking that, you know, as we discuss this big issue, there are a lot of, I think, stereotypes and misunderstandings surrounding the tudong. So what are some of those stereotypes and misunderstandings?
Okay, I think the most obvious one is that we are forced to wear it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess you have to understand that not everyone is forced to wear it, and I don't have the statistics to prove it, but among my group of friends, I know that none of us were forced to wear it. Yeah. So that's one, and then you have to understand that it's a personal choice, and once we commit to it, there is a article in the Constitution, Article 15, which says that we can practice it. So it's not a matter of you don't like, you don't use law, you don't like, you go somewhere else. It's not that. That's dismissing the issue. Okay, so I feel that you have to understand that it's our rights from the rights angle. Yeah, that is our rights, that we are discriminated upon. You have to understand that. You have to first understand that fundamentally. Okay, and it's ridiculous to go like, but you don't have to wear it, but it's a choice, and don't use it lah. Then you just go back. The fact is we've already used it. Let's start from there. Yeah, so let's start. That should be where the conversation begins. Yeah, so and then the other one is like, this tudong is a Malay issue. Yeah, I have friends who ask me, why is there all this noise about a tudong issue? And then I feel that, okay, you have to understand it's incredibly difficult for me to be in this position where I speak on as a Muslim woman, right? Yes, but I also feel it's also important that when you ask your friends, you understand your hijab wearing friends, right? You understand that it is from their lived experiences. So it might not be it might not be a representation of everyone's experiences, but it accounts for something. Yeah. So and the whole idea that you can just take it off whenever you want because I've seen somebody done it before. Yeah, but it is their choice. It's not mine. Why are you accepting that on me? So that stereotype and that misconception, I really hope you ask yourself, you talk to people. And I will not be surprised if it's you don't know these things because you don't have access to Muslim women. And you have to ask yourself, why don't you have access to Muslim women? Why don't you have access to Muslim women who wear the hijab? Is it because the spaces you occupy is not inclusive enough? If it's not, then you have to work harder to build a longer table, not a taller wall. Yeah, so that's what.
Maybe just a last comment from you here. What makes the hijab so important for you, and then maybe for a Muslim woman out there? What is the relevance and the significance of it that's so powerful that a lot of people miss out?
Okay, I think it's for me personally, I think it's the empowerment that I feel with it.
Yes.
Yeah, so if I choose to wear it, this is my choice. And whoever I show my hair to is my choice. I wear it however the hell I want. It is my choice. It's an empowerment thing. So some people might feel empowered showing more skin. Good for you. But this is how I do it. Yeah. So you have to respect that diversity exists.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why it's important for me, because it's an indication of my empowerment and my woman empowerment. Yeah, so for everybody else, I feel that it's important for women because I feel that we are always succumbing to what the men say or what society says. But I guess now you have to understand that within yourself, right? If you get to know more Muslim women who wear the hijab, I'm pretty sure you will find some very notable figures who helped out in nation building. Yeah, like for example, there was a scientist from A-Star. Her name is Jackie. She wears the hijab too. Yeah, but where is her voice? Is she invited to the closed door session, by the way? Just wondering. So these are the questions that you have to ask yourself. Where are the Muslim women wearing the hijab within your circles? Yeah.
All right. And on that note, I'd like to thank you so much.
Theory of change?
Theory of change. Oh, are we going to do that? Okay.
Why not?
All right.
We always do that.
Okay. So I guess, the big question that we like to end off with is, what is your theory of change? Basically, big question, yes, but basically, how do you think change should or could happen? And how do you see yourself making a change in Singapore and the world?
Wow, it is such a philosophical question.
Yeah.
Not really, I think one reason why we ask it, why I'm interested, is because people tend to not realize how many different ways there are to create change. And for some people, maybe it's writing and publishing. For other people, it's protesting. For other people, it's being a good representative of your community and, being able to show that be a positive example of your community to the world, right? For some people, it's slowly building an institution, quietly working so that that institution can then create change. For others, it's acting alone, so everyone does things for a reason, right? You don't just go and do things. You do things because you believe it will make some sort of change. So that's all we're asking, right? Why do you do what you do when you have 24 hours in a day, same as everyone else, but why do you choose to spend it this way and not that way?
Oh, okay. So I guess would be I think I believe strongly in education. So I like to educate the younger generation because I feel they're more curious. They may have preconceived biases, but those are easily challenged because they are very curious. So I like to start them young. So I like to introduce diverse books in my classrooms. So I like to ensure representation in my classroom. I like to ensure that if someone says something that is strange, that I don't avoid it. So sometimes they ask, why is your skin so dark? Or why is your skin so black? Yeah, so usually people be like, oh, you don't say these kind of things. But I like to look at it like, oh, this child is really curious. Yeah, so I say, why makes you think that it's black? So then the whole idea that while I want to answer them, I have to educate myself first, right? So how do I explain melanin to children? Yeah, how do I explain that our skin color is because of melanin? How do I explain it? So that relearning, that unlearning, relearning is an important process for me, which is why I say I'm a learner first, right? Because I do know that I have biases, and I'm aware of that, and I'm always reflecting on that because I'm always learning. Right? So for me, as my theory of change is to start within the spaces I occupy. So when I have friends, I don't shy away from the topic. So and I'm very approachable if you know me. But if you see me outside, I'm quite awkward. But if you know me, I'm quite approachable. I like to hear what you have to say because I believe that people are just like, the lived experiences are so unique that there is a space for learning and understanding there. And I feel that that is the beauty of the human condition, you know. So for me, I feel that my theory of change is to learn, relearn and unlearn, at the same time make the change within the smallest spaces I occupy. Yeah. So like in my Grab ride earlier, yeah, when I came over, so I was asking the guy, can I just ask you something? What do you feel about the whole tudong issue? Then he looked up. Then he looked at me. He thought I was wearing heels. He was like, "Oh crap! I just wanted to take this hitch. I didn't want to have this conversation." So I said, "No, really. I like to know what you feel about it." So he said he didn't know what the noise was about. Yeah, because he said like, this one, no offense, it's a Malay issue. It's not my issue. He said that. So I said, okay. Then I asked him, why does he think that? Because he said, I don't wear the headscarf. I don't wear tudong. I don't know anybody who wear tudong. So I asked him, you don't know anybody who wear tudong, even in the workforce? No. Then it kind of clues me at how exclusive people's circles are. So in a way, right, where we are more online and more connected, are we really connected or disconnected? Yeah. So that's also what I feel, that when I ride Grab Hitch, right, my favorite is to ride a Grab Hitch, because you don't know who the driver is, and then he doesn't know he's gonna have me, and then the conversation starts, right? So sometimes I get racist drivers, of course, that's normal, but I don't take offense because I know that they grew up in a different era. Yeah, so like I'm more like, I feel that I have the privilege of education and information, but they don't. So the only way to start that communication is to build that bridge. Yeah. So that's me.
All right.
No, that's fantastic, and you know we want to learn too, and so I hope you'll come back on the show and allow us to ask you, ignorant questions,
Sure.
and so that we can all learn together. I think we've really enjoyed having you here. It's been really fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, this has been really, really one very, very enlightening session. A very, very powerful intervention as well to a very murky, poorly understood issue that is being dominated by male voices that are just, I don't know what they're talking about. But thank you so much. It's a powerful intervention here. Very relevant, very timely. So thank you so much, Nur Friday, for joining us. And I mean, I just keep going back to that quote that you said just now. Longer tables, shorter walls. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Right, and thank you Nur, thank you Sean, as always, great questions, great co-hosting. Thank you to our members in the Discord who've joined us. Thank you to you, our listeners, for listening, and as always, if you enjoyed this, please do join New Narrative as a member. We're very much dependent on membership revenue to survive, so we do need you to join newnarrative.com/join or donate at newnarrative.com/donate. Thank you very much and see you next time.
Stay where you are. We've come way too far.